There's a big debate going on with IUL, Index
Ah,
Universal Life Policies. You know, Dan
yes.
Andrews is a big proponent of,
Doug Andrew,
oh, Doug Andrews, sorry, Doug
Doug
Andrews
Andrew.
is a
Yeah, yeah.
big proponent of IUL. And I know I see a lot of your YouTube videos, and you try to distinguish and you compare the IUL to whole life. Explain to my listeners what that difference is, because we're not so big in Canada on IUL, but we are big. They have universal life policies, not so much on the index universal lives. And I know that you do a lot of comparisons on the two and why people should be really focusing more on the whole life side.
Yeah, well, so IUL and UL, let's just talk about that first. The difference is nothing. I mean, the difference, an IUL is simply a UL product with an options strategy attached to it. That's it. So as far as Canada goes, good for you for not having that, because it's a bunch of smoke and mirrors and it doesn't work the way they say it does. Um, it illustrates really well or whatever. But it doesn't ever perform or live up to expectations or promises, right? And so that's important. The fundamental difference, and the reason I like whole life insurance, is because when it really comes down to it, it's a function of when you're buying a policy and saving money inside of a life insurance contract, you're effectively saying, hey, life insurance company, you've been doing this for 180 years, 100 plus years. You've weathered every financial storm. I'm going to have you manage my risk for me, get the best return possible with the least amount of risk possible. And I'm going to trust that you're going to do that for me and with me moving forward. And so I'm going to hand you my money, and I'm going to become effectively a shareholder with a participating mutual company. When you put your money into a whole life policy, you are a shareholder, basically a business partner with the company. You succeed when they succeed, right?
Yep.
So when you put your money into a whole life policy, you are a partner with a company. When you put your money into an IUL or a UL, you're a profit center for the
And
company.
let's really distinguish between a mutually owned company and a stock company. You're talking mutually owned.
Mutually owned whole life insurance companies.
Yes, not a stock insurance company.
But let's go deeper, because there are mutually held companies that offer UL products as well. At least in the United States, there are.
Okay.
Right? And so a lot of people have now been pitching IUL and UL products saying it's a mutually held company. Yeah, that's great. It's a mutually held company, but you're not buying the product that participates in the mutuality of that. You're buying a product that is the profit center. So I got news for you. If you're buying a UL with a mutual company, it doesn't matter. You're still going to be a profit center that they're going to use that to meet the guarantees that they have with the participating mutually held policy owners.
Right.
And so it's just, do you want to be a business partner or do you want to be a profit center? Business partner, participating in the success of the company as a whole life policy. Profit center, that means you're at risk, and
And you can still you can have losses in a UL policy, correct?
Of course, all the time. Yeah, look at the guaranteed columns on any UL, and it'll make you run the other way as fast as you can.
Plus, there's more fees, no, inside a UL policy than a whole life.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, like so the whole concept of universal life is it's a blend between cash value and annual renewable term insurance. And so it looks really good for the first, 5 to 10 to 20 years, depending on your age when you buy it. But by the time you hit 65 and your annual renewable term goes up, and you have a couple $100,000 of insurance, as you get older, those costs go through the roof, right? And the challenge is, most people, when you're buying it, at least in the US for UL based products, it's all being done for retirement income. So the problem is it's when you need it most is when you're going to be let down. And then if it happens and you have a policy lapse before you're 75, which most people are going to, unfortunately, and this is going to be a day of reckoning. If you have a policy lapse before you're 75, not only does your policy lapse, but you're going to get hit with a big old tax bill in the United States. I don't know how it works in Canada again, but there's overloan protection riders on these policies to make sure that doesn't happen. But if it happens to you before, those riders don't kick in until you're 75 years old. So if the policy lapses before you're 75 and you have loans out, not only do you have to pay a capital gain tax on the money and the income that you took out of it, but all of the loans, the outstanding loans that you owe on it, it just compounding behind the scenes, you're going to owe taxes on all of that as well.
Wow. Wow. Why should everybody have whole life insurance as part of their financial plan?
Because it's just smart. It's not sexy. Because
Boring.
success,
It's boring.
Success isn't sexy, y'all.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I mean, like I think about my father-in-law was a national GE General Electric Engineer of the Year 3 times. He met 3 presidents. Have you ever heard of the Apache helicopter?
Yeah.
My grandfather developed the weapon system for the Apache helicopter.
Very cool.
And so, he got to meet all these like amazing presidents. And so like my grandfather, had his flaws, whatever. But like from a success perspective, he's like my model of success, growing up. And I just remember growing up and watching him like make all this money and buy all this land and do all these things. And I'm growing up like watching this guy, and everybody's like idolizing my grandfather. And he's driving like an old Crown Victoria. You know what I mean? Like this old beater car that's like in the 80s and it's rusting out. And I'm like, something doesn't make sense. Everybody says my grandfather's like this rock star, super successful engineer, real estate investor, all this stuff. And he's driving a car that's got holes in the floorboards, like what is going on? And it's like success isn't sexy, like that's like in a lot of situations. Then you get all these like, wannabe Instagrammers that, are renting Ferraris and Lamborghinis just to look cool. It's like, get your priorities in line. You can look cool or you can be successful. And I guess eventually you can make enough to be both, if that's what your priorities are. But what I find is that the more success you actually build, the less interested in looking cool you are. You want to just kind of blend in and do your own thing, and so like, I don't know, why should everybody have whole life is because there's no other predictable way. There's no other asset that's going to make sure that you're going to have a set of rules and filters that you can run every decision that you make through your life with your finances to make decisions on what is a good investment. It's going to help you grow to be first and foremost. It's going to help you save money, save with the intent of investing. So when you know how to invest or when you find the right investments, you're going to be capitalized to do it with less risk, not be a speculator, but be a true investor. Right. And so when you do that, that's fantastic, right? Because now you're ahead of the game, but you're also going to have the life insurance there to backstop you to make sure that your plans are going to be actualized. The only variable is you, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the only reason not to use life insurance is because you don't want to take whole life insurance is because you don't want to take radical self-accountability for the results in your life. That would be the reason you don't want it.
That's a good point.